Okay, in the last few videos, or last two videos really, we've been using our scripts, but it might not be clear yet why. We could have done everything that we wanted to do within the console itself. But there are a few reasons that using scripts is helpful. And they're mainly about organization and efficiency of your work. When you write in an R script, you can do things like make annotations and comments. You can separate out different tasks that you need to do as different scripts, so it's organized in that way. And you can reuse scripts if you need them. You don't need to retype them in or cut and paste from somewhere. You can just call the script in. So let's look at the annotations and comments first and come back to the script that we were just using. All right, so this is the R script that we use to go over variables. And you'll notice I put some space in between things to sort of visually separate things out for me, because looking at line after line after line unbroken is a little bit more challenging. It's harder to think about that way. It's easier to break them into chunks or visualize them in chunks. In the console, you don't really have that option. It's line, 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 line without breaks. So just being able to skip some lines in between and have a little white space is nice. But I can also add in annotations that can be useful for yourself or if you're sharing the file with anyone. And the way you enter an annotation is to use the hashtag symbol, and then it won't be interpreted as a command. And when you run the script, it just gets ignored. But when you open the script, you can see it and you can see what it means. So I can put here a little note. This is assigning variable values. That's what I'm doing here. I could make a note here. This is, let's see, calculations with variables, and so on. So I could annotate this file down the line to help me understand what I had done. When I come back to it, I can see, okay, this is what I did here, this is what I did here, and so on. So that's one value of using the scripts. I can have multiple scripts open at once. So if I wanted to open up the, say, the calculator script at the same time, I can come down to my file window and bring that up, and I can have multiple scripts available, and I can run them from the console at will. So I could have scripts that do different tasks, and when I needed to do that task, let's say one of them is about making a histogram or defining a set of variables to do some sort of calculation, I can call that in and it will bring in the command lines that are on that. And I can do that by using the source. But let me clear this out first so we can see. I'll clear this. I'll clear this. Let's remove all variables. So it knows nothing to start. And then let me run source. And then I'll try to put the name in here of the source. This is called variables.r. And what I'd like it to do is to come in here and just run this script. And the command to do that is called source. So let's see what it says when I do this. Okay, I have a little bit of a problem. What's the problem? It doesn't find that script. And it doesn't because I haven't told it to look in the right place. So what you have to do is have your scripts organized and know the file structure that you're working with. So let me come down here to the console for a second, and let me ask it a question. Let me ask it where it's looking for files. And I can do that by using getWD, which stands for Get Working Directory. And when I run this, hit enter, it tells me the directory that it's looking for things. It's looking for things in this path. Basically, it's looking on my desktop. Well, what's on my desktop right now? There's no files here on my desktop. There's just this folder. I want it to look in this folder, and not just in this folder, but in the folder where I saved the script. So I have to have it looking for things in the right place. It's not too hard to do that. I just need to set the working directory to be the right place. So let me do that. I'm going to set working directory, and it starts out in the same path. But it has to go a little bit further. I has to look into my projects folder, and then I have another folder called our intro. So by setting the working directory, I'll make that where to look for files. Okay, so I've set my working directory. Let's just double check that it did change it. So now my get working directory command tells me that it's looking in the right place. So now let me run this one more time. Let me try to run this variables thing. Okay, so over here in the history, we've got, this is what I've been typing recently. The environment is now empty, but now I want to use this script that I've created called variables. Variables.r. All script files have that .r extension. Okay, now when I run this, it worked. I didn't get this red error message, and look what happened. It ran the whole script and assigned all these values. So if you have information stored in scripts, you can easily bring that up to load it, and now it populates that knowledge. Whatever knowledge was in that script is now in your working environment. Okay. So that's really the in a nutshell, why you want to use a script. It helps you stay organized. You can basically take notes on the document, and then you don't need to reproduce code. You can just use scripts that you've created previously. Last thing I'll mention about scripts before we end is that if it shows up red here, that means you haven't saved it. And so once I save this, click the save button, it turns black. So it's got like a little warning flag here. You've changed this, but you haven't saved it. You've got to save things. Always save your work before you finish. All right, so that's working with scripts. In our last video, we'll show you one more way to do work in our studio, and that's using the notebook.